Hello, I'm your host, Linda Kasonde. I'm a lawyer who spent several years as an advocate for human rights, justice, and the rule of law in my native country, Zambia. This podcast was born out of the need to share women's experiences of leadership and to advocate for more women to take up leadership positions, based on themes in my memoir, Women, Resilience, and the Will to Lead. We cover topics ranging from motherhood to running for office, ambition, and managing the imposter syndrome. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to another episode of Women, Resilience, and the Will to Lead. Today we have a very exciting guest. She's Natasha Chiumya, a dynamic lawyer and entrepreneur, and one of my closest friends. So today we'll be discussing everything from career to reinventing yourself to motherhood and being fabulous. We're taking a short break. We'll be right back.
At F&B's Her Banking, we believe in helping every woman rise with tailored financial solutions to meet their needs. As a female-led business customer of F&B, you can access unsecured business loans of up to 500,000 kwacha. You also get discounted interest rates on your loan and a 50% cashback on your loan arrangement fees. We're here to support your business growth journey with Her Banking. T's and C's apply. F&B. How can we help you?
How can we help you? So, who is Natasha Chiumya?
First of all, thank you so much, Linda, for inviting me to be on your podcast. I'm really excited to be here and have this conversation with you.
Glad to have you.
So, Natasha Chiumya, who is she? I would say Natasha is somebody who wants to be everything that God created me to be. Mm-hmm. So I am somebody who really wants to self-actualize. I want to reach the end of my life and feel like I ran my race. That's who I am.
That's brilliant. I love that you talked about who you are, not what you are. Mm-hmm. But we'll get to that later on in the program. But Natasha, we've known each other for over 40 years. Mm. And just to get things rolling, I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite memory of us in our childhood?
Oh my gosh. I think definitely playing. We spent so much time playing.
And children just don't do it anymore.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We played like it was our job. But I think my favorite memories are probably when we did our little productions.
Yes. Yeah. We used to charge our parents to come and see our productions, selling them their Coke and things from the fridge.
Yes, it was my entrepreneurial spirit coming out at a very young age. So I think those are some of my fondest memories of us. And we were so creative, when I think back. We would write the whole script, and we would rehearse it and then perform it in front of our parents and make money. I mean, all the right elements were there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Natasha, without a doubt, I think you are my most well-rounded friend in terms of spiritually, emotionally, physically you work out.
Yes.
And intellectually. What would you attribute that to, aside from good genes?
Yeah, genes definitely play a role. It's hard to pinpoint one simple thing. I think part of it is my personality. It's just the way that I am. But I think also I think it also comes from having lost my parents at a young age and realizing that I am what I have. Mm-hmm. It's down to me. Mm-hmm. There's nobody else who I can expect to create the life that I want for myself. Mm-hmm. There's nobody else who's going to craft the type of life that I want. So I would say it comes down to me living by that ethos. And also I'm very conscious of my thoughts because I understand fully that my thoughts create my reality. So it's a huge compliment to tell me that I'm one of your most well-rounded friends, because I think that I really do try and carry good thoughts in my head all the time, regardless of what is going on around me, because there are so many things that can distract us and put us off our path. So I would attribute it to that.
So, Natasha, I think you have been one of the most influential, if not the most influential person with regards to my career trajectory, because you taught me how to ask for what I want. And as I was saying earlier, it's actually biblical. Seek and you shall find.
That's right.
And it's through your encouragement that I decided to ask to be made partner, and then made named partner. And you've also been very encouraging along my leadership journey, particularly when I was at the Bar Association, the Law Association of Zambia. So, would you describe yourself as being assertive? And what can we do to get more women to advocate for themselves?
Okay, before I answer that question, Linda, I just wanted to take a moment to actually celebrate our friendship. Yeah, so, you know, we were just talking with the crew that we've been friends for so long, for over 40 years. And I think that's something to celebrate. And I think part of what has made me who I am is having friends like you, just grounding me and being there for me in the journey of life. And I'm so happy that I've been able to do the same for you as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And it's a rare thing. And I think most people don't realize, or they don't know, that our mothers were friends. So this is like a second generation friendship. And that is so rare. It's such a blessing. Such a blessing. So yes, am I an assertive person? I would say, yes, I am. I am an assertive person. Because like you said, if you don't ask, you don't get. And also, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a businesswoman. So in business, if you're not willing to ask for business, you're definitely not going to get any business. And I think the same is true with life as well. We have to be assertive about going after our goals and achieving the big dreams that we have for ourselves in life. And I think then your other question is, how do we get more women to be assertive? I think it comes from understanding that no one is going to give it to you on a silver plate. No one is just going to wake up and say, oh, you want this? Here it is. Half the time people don't know what it is you want anyway. So how are they going to give it to you? Yeah, so I think that as women, we just need to understand that nobody's going around looking to do you a favor. If there are things that you want, then there's a way that you have to go after them. And it doesn't mean you have to go after them in an aggressive way, or I don't think assertiveness is the same as being aggressive. I think it's about being forthright, and it's about, I guess, something that I keep coming back to. It's about self-leadership. Yeah, it's about saying, this is what I want, these are my goals, these are my aspirations, and I have to be the one to go after them.
Absolutely. I was at an event a few days ago, and in the Q&A, a lady put up a hand and she said, what can we do to create a more conducive environment for women and particularly youth to participate in the governance space? And I said to her that I'll tell you what a former politician told me, which is that, like you're saying, no one is going to give it to you on a silver platter. You've got to grab it. You've got to create the opportunity for yourself. So I absolutely do subscribe to that. You've been through very many difficult things in your life. You mentioned, you were talking earlier about the loss of your parents. You've experienced a marriage breakdown. And yet, my dear, you do never look like your problems. What do you attribute to your resilience? And what does resilience mean to you?
I think for me, I attribute it to a few factors. First of all is my spirituality. I have a very strong personal relationship with God. And I communicate with God. It's a very real relationship to me. It's not something that I keep for a Sunday morning service or something that I dip in and out of once in a while. It is an active, ongoing, daily relationship. And through that relationship with God, I've always known that God has a good plan for my life. And it's not dependent on it's not dependent on so many other external factors. It's a promise that God has given me. And that's why I said at the very beginning that that's a promise that I want to see fulfilled in my lifetime by doing my part and also by expecting God's promises to come to fruition. So that's always been a guiding factor for me, you know. And I feel that sometimes we get stuck in a rut because we forget that God has good plans for our lives. So I would first and foremost attribute it to that. And then secondly, I think I've been so fortunate to have such a great support network. And that's why I was talking about our friendship, you know, the friendships that I have that go way back with your older sister, with our other friends, and our mothers were friends. Those have really, like I said, they've grounded me, you know. So even though I lost my mom at a young age, I had this community of women around me. And of course, my mom, my stepmom, and my siblings, my friends. You know, I think those are the factors that have always helped me bounce back, I would say. You know, just that emotional support, the love, knowing that people are there for me. That's been really, really important. And I would say, I am a routine person. So I would say that my routine really helps me. I'm not somebody who wakes up and just goes about my day in a random way. You know, when I wake up in the morning, I meditate. I work out, like you said. You know, in the evening, I'll have my reflection. I'll sit down for a few minutes and have my reflections of the day. I make sure that I take breaks during the day. And that's something that I started doing in the last couple of years. There was a time I was just go, and until I burnt out. But yeah, so I would say my routine as well. I've structured a life that helps to keep me on an even keel.
So being deliberate. And also one thing I'd say about Natasha is she's also very systematic about everything. She has structure in her life. So I think that's really stood you in good stead.
Thank you. But I want to say that also, you know, it has its downsides as well. You know, sometimes I know that people close to me can think I'm a bit too rigid. Yeah, so, you know, it helps, but I also want people to know that it does have, you know, there's pros and cons to everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this would surprise many people because just sort of looking at you, you have a very feminine appearance. But you've described yourself to me as being an alpha female. Tell us about that. What does that mean? What does that look like? And how do you navigate the world as such?
Did I say that?
You did. You did. I'm here. I've got the receipts. 40 years.
I think it goes back to my dad. I mean, you knew the way my dad was. My dad was a very masculine man, and he had a big personality. And you know, since we lost my mom at a young age, he was like the major influence for me and my sisters, and my brother as well. So I guess that alpha part of me comes from him, and he was somebody who he wouldn't shy away from confrontation, I would say, and I think all of us have taken on that trait. So I guess what does it look like? It looks like me asking for what I want, like we talked about. It looks like me not shying away from a difficult conversation or a confrontation if it has to be had, which a lot of people don't like, you know, and as Zambians, we're not very confrontational. But I think it also looks like being able to understand that the buck stops with me. So even though I do have a lot of support, I know that, you know, you're all busy with your own lives. And so if there's something that I need, I also have to reach out. And this is something that I suppose being an alpha female, I wasn't so good at, which was asking for support. So I guess this is something that as I get older, I'm getting better and better at.
And maybe aligned to this alpha female concept, you're also very unapologetic about the fact that you're in business to make money. Yeah. And I think that's something that women shy away from owning. They don't want to be seen to be ambitious or want to have wealth because that's seen as an unflattering thing for a woman. Tell us about that and how you've become like that.
100%, Linda. If we're in business, we're in business, and we shouldn't make any bones about it. If we're doing something and it's not making money, it's a hobby, and I'm not a hobbyist. Yes, so I'm in business to do a great job for my clients and to make money. And you are totally right. I mean, I've had that sort of reaction before. You know, in the law firm where I was with my partner, people would, who's also a female, a very strong female, people would say to us, you girls, you like money, huh? We have to pay salaries at the end of the month. You know, running a business has certain costs. And entrepreneurs are in for the reward. It's high risk to start a business because we know more than half of businesses fail. Yep. So high risk comes with high reward. If I'm going to take the risk of starting the business, then I want to reap the rewards. And it's also so much about mindset. So even though, yes, I don't make any bones about the fact that we're in it to make money, I also understand that you know, there's a mindset behind it. And it's not like I have it all figured out. I am a product of my environment. So I find that even I had a glass ceiling, a financial glass ceiling, which I had to work to break through. Because, you know, you're absolutely right. People see it as unflattering. They'll think you're being greedy, avaricious, or, well, not avaricious, maybe that's not the right word, but grasping, you know? And a good Zambian woman doesn't talk about things like wanting to make money. Yeah, and we all like to be liked.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah. So I think I'll ask this question now because it's aligned to what we've been just talking about. Even those of us who consider ourselves to be assertive, go for what we want, even us sometimes suffer from the imposter syndrome. So would you say you've ever suffered from it yourself? And if so, how have you overcome it?
100% I have. And for a very long time, I thought, of course not. I have it together. I am, you know, a partner in a law firm that I founded. I am doing all of these things. But then, as time went by, I began to understand what imposter syndrome is. And I began to realize that, actually, this thing really is affecting me. And, you know, it was that fear of disappointing people, of not being good enough. Like I said, you know, when you reach a plateau, all of those things are symptoms that you are suffering from imposter symptoms, or there's signs, you know, where you can't seem to go any further. It's like you've hit a wall. And because I think if we are honest with ourselves, we all have that fear of really shining bright, really being who we are created to be. All of us, I feel, at some point have a tendency to want to shrink back because we know that the higher we go, the brighter we shine, that there are people who are going to want to bring us down. And you know, in Zambia, we always joke about PhD syndrome, pull him down, pull her down. So we do have that as a culture, as a society, and no one wants to be the victim of that. So yes, definitely I have imposter syndrome. I can't say it's something that I have totally done away with. But over the years, I think I've learned to identify it and deal with it better.
So we've discussed the fact that we've been friends for 40 years, over 40 years. Yes, she's over 40.
Very much.
But I think that the fact that we've enjoyed and shared such a long friendship is more attributable to you because you actually have a track record of keeping a lot of very long-term friends from childhood onwards. So what role does friendship play in your life, and why do you think it's important, not just on a personal level, but also at a professional level?
Yeah, so thanks for that. Yeah, no, I think friendship is a two-way thing. So I would say that we've both kept our friendship alive. But friendship is key. To me, I really wouldn't be who I am without my friends. And, you know, I always say, I always thank God, because at each stage of my life, He's put friends there. At each stage, you know, from when I was a child to when I was a young adult to even now in my 40s, He's put wonderful, wonderful people in my life. So the role that it has played, it's you know what I said earlier, it's the love, it's the support, it's when things go crazy out there, and you know that you can still call your friends and you can have a laugh, and they can help you forget things and forget your problems. But also friends keep you accountable. You know, friends will be like, no, that's not really who you are. Why are you doing that? You know, so I think there's a saying that says you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. And I've been very fortunate that that group of people have lifted me higher. They haven't dragged me down. And I think we've all supported each other. You know, it's just critical to me, it's such an important factor. Yeah, I wouldn't, I can't imagine a life without friends. And I remember a few years ago, I was reading the memoirs of Demi Moore. And she grew up moving around a lot. There was a lot of chaos in her childhood. And they moved so much. And she says, I can't imagine what it's like to have a childhood friend. And I was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, just so different.
So back to your professional side. You're somebody you're a lawyer. You've practiced in a law firm. You've practiced in-house. You have gone outside the law to work in a donor agency. You've worked in government. And now you're an entrepreneur. You run a business. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
You're someone who's not afraid to start anew, to reinvent themselves. So just tell us your journey as a career woman and what you've learned from the different things that you've tried. Just what have you learned from your experiences?
So I think what people don't know is that I have started and failed at so many businesses. And so I would have my day job, and then maybe I would have a side hustle. You know, I'd start this business, it would fail. I'd start this other business, that would fail as well. And I think a key part of my journey was just deciding to focus. And as an entrepreneur, that's really difficult because the way our brains are wired, we're wired to see opportunity. So if you see a gap, you're thinking, I could, you know, I could play in that gap. I can serve people in that gap. I can make money in that gap. And then after some time, you realize that there's limited time, there's limited resources, you've got limited energy. So I would say that at a certain point, I decided to put my full focus on the law firm and see that grow. And now I've decided to put my full focus on Diaspora Connect so that I can see that grow as well. Yeah, I would say that that's really been my journey. Even when I was working, when I was an employee, I always wanted to have my own business. And the reason why is that, you know, for me, having a business is a very creative endeavor. So to me, it's like art. You know, it's like you've got this blank canvas and you can do whatever you want with it. You can paint it any way that you want. The way you serve clients, the way you interact with your employees, the way you build the culture of the business, it's so creative. The money that you'll make.
More importantly.
Yes. So no, I just threw that in there as a joke. But so it's not all about the money, but for me it's about the creativity that a business affords. And I think that's why I kept starting again and again and again, because I really love that fresh new aspect of doing something different, but also creating this piece of art through business.
I love the visual, like it's a creative process.
Yeah, I find it highly creative. You know, some people write books, some people write poetry, some people make music. This is how I create in the world.
How you express yourself.
It is how I express myself.
Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're now focusing on Diaspora Connect. Tell us what that is. Tell us why you created it.
Yeah. So, you know, you mentioned I am a lawyer by profession. I was practicing law for many years. We did a number of big property developments in and around Lusaka, where they were selling plots and properties to the public. And so a number of people who are living in the diaspora came through to say that, you know, they were so thankful that we were doing their paperwork properly, because it was so hard for them to buy property legitimately when they were abroad. And I was so shocked, because for us it was like, you know, our day-to-day work, it was our bread and butter. So I asked them why it was so hard, and they just told me about the challenges that they faced. You know, they don't know who's legitimate. They've lost so much money to friends and family, or to scammers, fraudsters, you know. So like I said, as an entrepreneur, I saw a gap and I said, okay, let me go for it. And so that's really how Diaspora Connect was born. And that was about 7 years ago now. Yeah, and yeah, we're still here and we're doing well. I think another thing that I want to point out, since we're having this conversation, is that entrepreneurship is not for the faint-hearted. It's not for the light-hearted. There's no overnight anything. Here we are with Diaspora Connect. It's been 7 years. And I can tell you, it's only the last 3 years that have started making sense. The years prior to that, hardly any business, because people didn't trust us. They didn't know us. You know, the law firm now has been around for over 15 years. Excuse me. A lot of people, maybe through the internet and social media, you know, they see all of these things. I just started last year, and now I'm making $200,000. No, it's hard work. You have to persevere. You have to be determined. And that's another thing I learned when I was starting and stopping. I realized that nothing was going to work if I wasn't going to see it through.
Right, consistency.
Consistency.
Right, right, and building that track record to create credibility.
Absolutely.
So you started your law firm 15 years ago with your partner, Tandiwe, and which is a bit different from what you're doing now, because you seem to have started as a solo entrepreneur with Diaspora Connect. And you know, if you read literature about business, people are always encouraged to go into business with a partner. So how have you navigated doing Diaspora Connect on your own? How is it different from having been in a partnership? Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, so that's a really good point, actually. But just a correction, I actually started Diaspora Connect with a friend of mine. Yeah, yeah. So she was the marketing guru. I, at that point, had spent probably about 10 years as a lawyer in a law firm where we weren't allowed to advertise. And she had been, she was in marketing. So I didn't know anything about online marketing. I didn't know anything about social media. I didn't even have a Facebook page. So, you know, I was leaving all of that to her. I just said, okay, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to sit? Who should I talk to now? So she's the one who really came up with our online strategy at the time. And then after a few years, she left the business to pursue some other endeavors that she had cooking in the pipeline. And I haven't gotten another partner since. And I think the reason is because my partnership in the law firm worked so well. And I always say it's like a marriage. So when you are partners, especially with the partnerships, the way law firms are, it really is like a marriage, because you're liable for you know, anything that goes wrong in that business. It's a relationship, and we were so lucky that it worked for us. I don't take that lightly. I don't just believe that I can approach anybody and say, let's go into business together and it will work out. I'm very cautious now. I'm very skeptical. I think because we had such a great partnership that I wonder sometimes if I can do it twice, if I can replicate it. But it is very different being a solo entrepreneur. You know, everything is on my shoulders. And I do miss having somebody who I can run to whenever things go wrong. You know, we were always there for each other. Yeah, so I do miss that element. But instead, what I would say I have now is very strong mentors. Yeah, so I do have a business coach and mentor, and every 2 weeks we're in a container. We do our group calls, and that has been brilliant. That is what has given me the support that I need as a solo entrepreneur.
Brilliant. You mentioned that an aspect of your business is actually marketing the business. And you mentioned that you weren't so familiar with marketing at the beginning, but now, as the now solo entrepreneur, you are the face of the brand, and you are you lead on the online platform you've created called Buying Property in Zambia. You are the face of that, and you put out videos advertising your products and services. How has that been as a woman? I know many women shy away from the spotlight or doing things on online because they feel it'll attract too much attention. People will think negatively of them. So tell us about that. How has that been for you?
A lot of women have that, we have that handicap where we don't see ourselves as being knowledgeable.
Right.
Yeah, we always say, who can I talk to? Who's more clever than me?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was just over time, and I would say practice. As well, because you know the first few videos are terrible. The first time you go on social media, I didn't know what I was talking about. I was talking about all sorts of things. But over time, I got into my groove. I started to ask myself, what are my strategic objectives with me being on social media? So I don't go on social media to hang out. I go on there to meet the objectives of the business. And I had to learn all of those things, I think. But I'll tell you the truth, even to this day, you know, there are times when I'm posting and I'm like, oh God, do people really want to hear from me again? You know, I've already posted 4 times this week. But what I have told myself is I take the decision out of it. Yeah, once I've got my calendar, because obviously, you know, you have to have like a calendar of what you're going to post. I'll prepare my calendar and then I take the decision out of it. I'm like, just post. And move on. Just post and move on.
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah. But I also have to say that you guys really encourage me a lot. Yourself, Janice Matui, and Lulu Hangala, actually. I met her many years ago at a lunch. And she said to me, you know, I've seen you around. And you're very impressive. But you don't have a social media presence. And I was like, I don't need a social media presence. And she said, yeah, you can say that, but for so long as women like you are staying in the background, then young Zambian girls will continue looking up to Kim Kardashian. And I've never forgotten that. Never forgotten that, because she was absolutely right. And I think you and Janice also really encouraged me to use my voice for that reason, that, you know, sometimes it's not just us. It's those who are coming with us and behind us. Yeah.
And you're doing such an excellent job. I'm really proud of what you're producing.
Brilliant.
So, when I was drafting my book, writing my book rather, which is called Women, Resilience and the Will to Lead, you were one of the first people that I gave the earlier drafts to for feedback. What did the book mean to you?
For me, it meant, aside from the resilience, it meant a lot about courage. Yeah, because I think your story is one of courage and strength. So that was, first of all, the most evident thing when I was reading the book. And also the fact that we can say that, we are equal, but there's a difference, I would say, between men leading and women leading. There are different factors that we have to take into consideration. And then something that you talk about a lot is leading from the front. So we're all leaders, whether we want to acknowledge that or not, because our life is our own, and we can choose to lead it or not. But it's that aspect of leading from the front. And also, I think what your story highlights is the aspect of self-leadership. Just being able to lead oneself. And acknowledging the times when we have made mistakes, when we may have taken a wrong turn, where maybe we could have sought out advice or gone in a different direction. So, I never want to give people the impression that life is perfect or life is easy. We all have those instances where it's really hard. Things can get really hard. And that's when we really have to dig deep and be resilient.
So, at the beginning of the book, I talk, and in fact, the chapter 1 is entitled "It Matters How It Starts," and that's really to say that your foundation as an individual, who you are, your values, your principles, your beliefs, are the foundation for who you are. And the more solid the foundation, the easier it will be to build on that, or when things come crashing down, to rebuild. And I talk about the fact in my book that in my family, we were raised to treat men and women equally. And you've got 2 lovely children, Mwaka and Mwene. Mwaka's in university now, and Mwene is just about to go to university, so you're almost there, almost an empty nester. And I have watched you being a mother over the years, and really watched in awe, because as Michelle Obama's mom says, or she says, she's raising adults, she's not raising children, right? And I think your children have grown up to be very responsible, very independent, and just great human beings.
Thank you.
And so I wanted you to talk about motherhood. Do you subscribe to the view that we should raise adults?
Well, I don't know if I can say that specifically.
Okay.
And thank you so much for your such loving and kind words about Mwaka and Mwene. I in raising my kids, I wasn't thinking about raising adults, but I was thinking about raising children who can look after themselves. And I think it's because of the loss that I suffered. So I always wanted my kids to be able to move through the world independently. They must know how to look after themselves. They must know how to keep their environment orderly, even though they can be very messy, as children are. My father was a disciplinarian, and I wanted my kids to have structure. So that was very important for me. And also, I don't think that I've been the world's greatest mom. Maybe there are times or seasons in their life when I was way too busy. But I think one thing that I have managed to always do with my kids is keep the lines of communication open. So right now you mentioned that my son, we're waiting for him to go to university later in the year. My daughter was here for 6 months for an internship. So just simple things like making sure we share a meal together. That's always been really important for me. It's something that my dad did with us. And just having a conversation, you know, to find out what's going on in their world, in their life. You know, they'll tell me about podcasts that they're listening to, or things that their friends or their age group are tweeting about. And I think that's really important because, you know, as children grow up, they don't tell you everything. They stop telling you everything, you know. So the little that they're willing to share with you about, you know, what they're thinking, what their age groups are talking about, those are the moments where you can wedge in your message, you know, a teaching moment. And even if they roll their eyes, they're like, oh. You know, I remember when I look back, my dad was a very young dad. He had my older sister when him and my late mom were, and my late dad were at university. And when we were growing up, he always used to say, I'm a young daddy. We would be like, he's an old man. Embarrassing himself. And now I find myself saying the same thing to my kids. I'm like a young mom. I'm really hip. I'm like, that's dope. They're like, Mommy, stop it. Stop it. Please don't say that again. So yeah, it's fun, you know, we keep the fun going, we keep the conversations going. But yeah, I've always wanted my kids to be able to look after themselves and just be good human beings and polite and, you know, yeah.
You've done it.
Thank you.
We're taking a short break. We'll be right back.
At F&B's Her Banking, we believe in helping every woman rise with tailored financial solutions to meet their needs. As a female-led business customer of F&B, you can access unsecured business loans of up to 500,000 kwacha. You also get discounted interest rates on your loan and a 50% cashback on your loan arrangement fees. We're here to support your business growth journey with Her Banking. T's and C's apply. F&B. How can we help you?
How can we help you?
So, Tasha, it's been a really lovely conversation, and all good things must come to an end.
Yes.
But I have one final question for you, and it is one of my favorite Oprah questions. And also, Oprah likes to say, what do you know for sure? Okay? So, Miss Chiumya, what do you know for sure?
Wow. Gosh, you know, when you have to start answering that question, you realize how much there is to it. I think what I know for sure is that mindset is everything. Yeah. Mindset is everything because we really are powerful beyond measure. And it is up to us if we can engage the right mindset to really believe in ourselves and to take our lives from the ordinary to the extraordinary. So I would say that's what I know for sure.
Brilliant. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. As a man thinketh, so he is, according to Natasha Chiumya, who's been our guest today. So thank you very much for joining us, and we hope you'll tune in again for our next episode. Thank you for tuning in to Women, Resilience and the Will to Lead. I'd like to thank our production team, Keen Kings Media, and our sponsors, F&B Zambia. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and press the subscribe button.